So I am Anne-Marie Thomas. I'm the Associate Dean of the Honors Program, and we are very excited to be partnering with Transfer Services for the second time to bring you ACC Honors Program alumni to talk about their transfer experiences at highly competitive institutions and programs. And they wanted to give you the benefit of their experiences, to pay it forward, if you will. I did not twist their arms to be here. They're very happy to be here. And they, the people online here, they didn't even get nachos, right? These three did. So they are here out of the goodness of their hearts, and they really want to help you and give you very practical information about transferring. So we'll go ahead and get started with introductions. So we'll start with the folks on Zoom, and what we'll do is we'll have you tell us a bit about yourself, your major, your current university, if you want any scholarships, and your career plans. And we'll start in alphabetical order. So Amber, it's all you. Take it away.
Of having an A name. Hi everyone.
Really
Sorry,
funny.
I look incredibly unprofessional because I actually had to run across the campus in the snow to get here from my forensic toxicology class.
Everybody just freaked out because you said no, right? So they're like, whoa, it's like you're on a different planet. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, my name is Amber Trailer. I am currently 33 years old, and started going to college for the first time at 28. So I started at ACC as a chemistry major, and now I'm at Rutgers. Rutgers is not the most competitive school, admittedly. There are some much more impressive people here
It's
on
still
that
pretty dang
front.
competitive, Amber.
But also, the reason I'm mainly here is because I am a Jack Kent Cooke undergraduate transfer scholar. And if any of you is planning on transferring from ACC to a four-year institution, Jack Kent Cooke is such an amazing opportunity, and I'll be talking about this later. Thank
So
you.
funny. Right, thanks, Amber. Claire, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Claire Hobbs. I'm a junior at Yale University, majoring in cognitive science. I started out at ACC on my college journey. Originally thought I wanted to be a math major, and then transferred in the fall of 2023.
Great, thank you. And so you said originally you thought you wanted to be a math major, but now you're cognitive science, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. And then last but not least, Tristan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tristan Phillips. I am a biology major at Brown University. Biology doesn't fully encompass everything that I want to do while I'm here, but that is my main major. I'm interested in entrepreneurship. I study Japanese, and I mean, there's just so much to do. So even outside of that, but I am a slightly non-traditional student. I took a couple gap years after high school, and then I enrolled at ACC just to get an associate's in the health sciences. And then I transferred to Brown after my first year at ACC. And yeah, I'm here now. Career plans, still a little undecided. I think everyone kind of feels that for most of their undergraduate years, but happy to talk more about it soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Tristan. Okay, we'll move over to the UT panel over here. And so we're just going to go down the row instead of alphabetically. So Katie, go ahead.
Hi, so my name is Katie. I am a junior at UT Austin. I just transferred this past semester. I did 4 semesters here at ACC, which was wonderful, and it kind of helped me find my path. And right now I'm studying specifically Gothic horror, and I hope to be a Gothic literature professor once I finish school. Yeah.
You mean science fiction, right? You don't mean Gothic, right? Katie was in one of my classes.
Yeah, so.
Okay, great. And Kelda, tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelda Harrison. I was here at ACC for about a bit over a year, core complete. I transferred to UT. I'm an economics major. And yeah, career plans, hopefully either consulting or public policy. We'll see which way it goes.
And Kelda is actually one of our honors ambassadors, so you might see her coming into your classrooms.
Hi everyone, I'm Marisela. I moved to Austin 3 years ago. I'm from Venezuela, and I did 2 years here at ACC. I graduated with a Journalist Studies Associate. Now I'm pursuing journalism at UT Austin. I transferred last semester, and I think I would like to do videography or documentary work, but we'll see.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Well, so we have a set of questions which we will ask, and then we want to open up to you all because we're sure that you have plenty of questions to ask our panel. So let's get started with the question, why did you decide to apply to these particular schools? So Tristan, let's start with you.
Exciting. I get to be first this time. I'm not going to lie, I prepared answers to these questions, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to answer them. But really, it was, in all honesty, it was the resources. I didn't realize initially that a lot of these institutions have generous financial aid, especially for students like me that don't come from a very high income background. And I realized that there were a lot of other amazing faculty and students that I'd be able to connect with, not even considering the programs or the degree or the career side, just even people. So I put my energy into it just because I realized what could be gained if I was accepted.
And you applied to several schools, right? I remember it was a long list, yeah?
Yes, I applied to a lot of the Ivy League schools. I applied to Rice. I did apply to UT. I applied to, I believe, a few other schools. It was a total of, I believe, 16.
Okay, great. Something that we discovered last year in our panel, of our 4 students, I believe 3 of them had applied to UT and were not accepted by UT. And Amber, I don't even know if you applied to UT.
I did not apply to UT, but I was not accepted by several schools, so I can talk about that.
Okay, great. Well, why did you decide to apply to this particular school?
So for me, I also had a fairly extensive list of schools, and that is going to be my first recommendation for anyone in the audience today. Don't pigeonhole yourself into hoping that the one school you applied to is going to accept you, because I hate to be the one to break it to you. Admissions can sometimes just depend on who you get to read your application. So it's one of those things that's a toss up. Please do not only apply to one school. I applied to 8 total. I got into 3 and then got waitlisted for a 4th. I also applied to several Ivy Leagues. Unfortunately, MIT and Yale did both turn me down. Heartbreak for me. But I did get into some really good schools. So I'm sure most of y'all have never heard of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It's a great school in New York. That mainly does engineers. And I thought about going there, and then I changed my mind and went to Rutgers after having some advice from some other people. And I think that this is really important advice. When you go to college, it's about more than just the prestige of a school. Really, when you're looking at schools, you should look at more than just, oh, it's going to sound good that I came from here. And I think that I fell into that trap of thinking that in the beginning. When you look at what college you want to go to, you should look at the campus climate. You should know what kind of clubs are on campus. You should know what kind of research professors are doing if you're wanting to do research. Really talk to people. Don't just, talk to admissions. See if you can find students. See if you can find faculty to actually tell you what campus life is like. Because at the end of the day, everyone in college has rough times where classes are hard and you feel overwhelmed, and having a campus community that supports you is going to be what gets you through that.
And thanks, Amber.
That's why I chose Rutgers.
Well, and we'll talk about your experiences because you're now in your 2nd year of being at Rutgers, and so things may have changed as a result. And Claire, Yale.
Yes, so I was one of the students that did not get into UT, but Yale was my first choice. I love a good challenge. I've, started school as a non-traditional student, and I thought to myself, how far can I take this? How far can I push myself? Because I know that's where some of the greatest rewards come from. And then also when I was at ACC, I loved the community of non-traditional students there. They were such an important part of my daily classroom and even outside classroom life. And so when I searched for institutions that had specific non-traditional student programs, Yale's Eli Whitney program was at the top of the list. And then I want to add to Amber's advice. My piece of advice is to, if you are interested in a specific school, if that number one on your list, is to consume every bit of media they offer on their website, you know, about the program, attend info sessions, look at YouTube videos, just read everything you can. And even, you know, I know it's not possible for everyone, but visit. I visited, I was able to speak with a student in the program. And so when it came time for me to write my why do you want to transfer essays, you know, my ideas were very already formed and clear. And so I could communicate that as I wrote those essays. I didn't have to sort of come up with anything. I knew why.
Great advice, Claire. And also, those of you who are in the honors program, Claire is the one that was letting us know about when the info sessions were for the Eli Whitney program. And we've had a few students from ACC go on into that program, right? Okay, well, over to UT. So you all, of course, locally, it's the Holy Grail. So why this particular school?
So Amber's gonna be really, really disappointed in me. So UT was the only school I applied to. I was at a very large crossroads when I was applying to a four-year university, and I realized the only university that would allow me to stay at home without having to completely move out and uproot my life with my cats and my family and everything else was UT Austin.
I like how you said your cats before your family.
They're my little boys. They're like little babies. So I applied to UT, just knowing that this is the only school that's kind of plausible for my living situation at the moment with my finances. The only reason I'm able to even attend university in general, and this goes for ACC as well, is the VA veterans benefits. So Chapter 35 is the one I fall under because my dad was a military veteran. And he's 100% disabled, so I'm able to get X amount of dollars to go to school because of that. And if I wanted, my first choice of school would have been UC California, like UCLA, because that's where my dad went, but that just wasn't feasible financially for me. So I just put all my eggs in one basket, and I said, if fate wants me to go to college, it's gonna happen.
Wow.
And if not, it won't. And then I got my first choice of major, which was honors humanities, and I was very happy, but don't do what I did. Please apply to more than one school. I had a very
Look at these expressions out here.
Know, please apply to more than one school. Don't do what I did. But I love it there, and the resources that are there and just everything else is so wonderful, and I found such a wonderful community there as well. And one reason I wasn't scared to go there either is I had a lot of friends that went to UT Austin, so I just felt at home there every time I was there, so okay. I left my hands to fate.
Right. No, we need diverse perspectives. Okay, Kelda, why UT?
So funnily enough, I also only applied to UT. Don't do that.
What?
Yeah. So for me, I'm very location dependent. I have a 11-year-old son and a partner here, and my partner's job is here, so I kind of had to stay in Austin. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna hope for the best and figure it out if it doesn't work out. But I got in with my first choice major too.
Which was economics, right? So we have
economics.
Humanities, economics, and journalism. Yeah.
So that was why I chose UT. I kind of had to. So I also kind of sent a lot of good vibes out to the universe. And
this is stunning. Like you guys are saying, well, we used woo, and that's how we got in.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I did apply to more than one school because I'm not gonna risk it. I applied to 5 schools, and my top 3 were UT Austin, Boston University, and Madison, Wisconsin. But I ended up deciding between Boston University and UT because they accepted my major, but also they were offering full tuition. So of course I could fairly compare the resources and classes that they offer. But at the end of the day, even though moving to Boston would have been great and an amazing opportunity, I care more about the kind of career development that I want to have. and I don't know what kind of career I'm gonna pursue yet. I don't know if I'm gonna go to journalism, if I'm gonna do something different. And the good thing about UT journalism program is that it's very skill-based. Like you do writing, you do video, you do producing, you do a lot of stuff if you want to, designing as well. So I was like, I think is the version of, sorry, I'm shaking, but like, I was like, is diverse enough for me to decide what I want to do in the long run? Because Boston University was very writing focused, and reporting is like, I don't know if I want that traditional reporting journey. And apart from that, the orgs at UT are great. I did a lot of research on the faculty. If they are connected to different industries, they do a lot of seminars where I can get to know people from not only journalism kind of like industry, but like advertising, nonprofit. So I think in the Austin area, I thought, well, that would give me more chances to find what I like than if just moving to Boston and figure it out.
So, Maricela, you didn't find out from UT until, I mean, I think you were on the verge of accepting, right, at Boston University. So what was that? So my next question is, what was the transfer process like? So tell us a little bit about that, because it seems like that might have been a little bit stressful.
Oh, it was awful. I mean, Boston let me know that accepted me in May, and UT is like, I don't know why, from all universities, the one that tells you the last date, like super late, June 15th. So I was like, okay, what should I do? Should I just deny Boston University and figure it out? But I decided to like, so one thing I would recommend is that always ask if they offer like a student's fee, or if they could waive one of your applications. I had to pay like $600 if I wanted to like accept my application for Boston. I was like, I don't know if I can pay that. I couldn't. But because of financial aid, they accepted it, so I could wait longer to decide if I wanted to accept Boston or not. So yeah, that was stressful. I waited a lot, but I was doing that. I was talking to a lot of people. I was talking with people that went to Boston University, people that went to UT. I reached out in LinkedIn. People that I knew, like I was doing my research. So by the moment I have to take the decision, I knew like, okay, here are my options.
Okay, great, thank you. Kelda, what was the transfer process like for you?
For me?
So I applied for spring. I think I applied at like right before the deadline in August. And I didn't hear back till mid-October, I guess, or late October. So it gave me a little time. I think the hardest part about and I know some people only hear back in like December or even January, so don't count on hearing back in October. But I think the hardest part was you have to wait to register for classes until like you do the orientation, which is like a week before school starts. So if you need to have a certain schedule, like you won't know until a week before classes start if you go in spring. I don't know how it is in fall.
And does that affect your class choices because you have to wait until?
Yeah, I didn't run into any issues with it because the classes I chose were like massive classes, but it can definitely affect your choices as well. So it's a little confusing and last minute, I would say.
All right, Katie?
To add on to the hate train, yes, it was nightmare fuel. I was stressing out, and the way that UT releases if you get into the school or not is in waves. So one day McCombs will get a small wave, the next day College of Liberal Arts will get a random wave, and they don't communicate with you what waves are coming out when. So I ended up just stalking the UT admissions Reddit. That brought me some comfort. So whenever I didn't hear back one day, I'm like, okay, nobody else did either. Oh. But yeah, that was really stressful, and it sucked. But picking my classes was kind of a unique experience because under humanities, you get to design your own major. You get to pick a thesis topic. You spend 2 semesters studying for it and then 2 semesters writing it. So I'm in my last semester of prepping for it before I start actually writing it. So I had to meet with my liberal arts advisor, and she went through all the steps of, hey, what do you vaguely even know what you want to do yet? And through just trying to figure out what classes were even available left because they told us so late, I ended up finding a class on Slavic vampires. And now I'm writing about Dracula. So it worked out for me in the end.
Totally worked out, yeah.
It's just a strange process. Again, just since you're last to know, the people that are transferring in are last to know, they're the last to pick their classes, you might get put in some strange situations, but I found it as a blessing in disguise, so I wouldn't be too scared about it, and you'll always have time to like make up the classes you didn't get initially. So
All right, well, let's see how our out-of-state folks fared with the transfer process. I'm going to guess it's a little bit different. So Amber, let's start with you. Can you describe what the transfer process was like?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I had to go through the orientation and class scheduling nightmare as well. So basically, after I had applied, I started getting my acceptances in the spring. And so I actually started getting my college acceptances before I knew whether I was going to be able to pay for college, which is kind of horrifying. So I had applied to various scholarships. I had applied to the schools, started getting my acceptances back, and then found out that I had gotten the Jack Kent Cooke Award, which opened up my possibilities because they were willing to put forth about 50, they go up to 55K per year for your education. And so I got lucky. I basically got told, you know, wherever you get accepted, you can go. And that made my transfer process a little easier because I wasn't as terrified financially. Once I had decided on a school, I had to set up my orientation, same as everybody else. They did a specific like transfer orientation though, that's separate from your standard undergrad orientation. And then I had to wait a week after my orientation actually to register for classes, and actually got turned down for I wasn't able to register for a biology class because Rutgers is a major nursing school and every person takes biology pretty much. So that was my transfer experience with that. There is also a bit of transfer shock, and this is why I talk about picking climate. I'm actually really good friends with a woman who also got a UT transfer scholarship, and she went to Princeton. And this girl went to Princeton, and she had come from a low income, very diverse area. And she went to Princeton, and she was surrounded by a lot of very wealthy white people. And the transfer shock for her was harder than most people because she was in a community that looked nothing like her, knew nothing of her lived experience, and she was also older than most of them because a lot of them were traditional students. And so I like to talk about that because I had a transfer shock just in the sense of I moved from Texas to New Jersey. Y'all, it's a little different. It's a little different up here, especially because the Eagles won and they have to grease the poles to keep people off of them. It's crazy. But so yeah, I mean, it was a whole thing. Like my second month of classes, it started snowing while I was walking around campus, and I was like, "What do we do? Like, our class is canceled. Like, what do I do?" And they were like, "No, you just go about your life." Like, so yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things that are going to come up. I also had to deal with some craziness of I got stalked by a faculty member who really wanted me to do research for her. Like, oh yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I want to come back to that, definitely. But I guess you were scarred by Uri here in 2021. So when the snow started falling, you were like, "We're all gonna die." Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember being locked in my house with no heat and no electricity.
Okay. Thank you, Amber. Claire, what about you? What was your transfer process like with Eli Whitney?
Sure. Well, first, I wanted to bring up one of my biggest concerns and sort of unknowns. You know, when you transfer to somewhere like UT or another institution in Texas, they clearly outline which ACC credits transfer. But in transferring to Yale, you know, there's none of that. And so I was worried about which classes would transfer. And I was very relieved when I found out that most of them did. All my classes were either in person, or if they were online, they were synchronous. There were just a few like college algebra, pre-calculus classes that didn't make it, but all my calculus and above and pretty much everything else transferred. So I came in with quite a few credits. But as soon as I hit the matriculate button, Yale was full speed ahead with, I mean, just the onboarding process, you know, socially, They set me up with a peer mentor who was already in the Eli Whitney program, who worked with me over the summer. You can sign up for this math. It's called Onexus, but it's for all incoming first years and transfer students. And it's like a math and science summer program that sort of helps you figure out how Yale does math and science. And so I did that. They had, events on how to register for classes, more Q&As with current Eli Whitney students, people I could, like points of contact I could reach out to and ask about how do you dress for the winter, or what happens when it snows, so, and that was, I accepted, in like very early June or late May, whenever it was, and it was just full speed from there. And they were very supportive, and really carried me until I got onto campus in the fall.
That's an amazing onboarding process. It's like you had a concierge, right? University concierge. Okay, fantastic. Tristan, what about you? You were in your first semester. You were in your first semester in the fall, right? So you're now beginning your second. So what was the process like for you, the transfer process?
Yes, correct. So yeah, over the summer, I was connected, similar to Claire. I don't know if, I'm sure there are various differences, but I was connected with someone I could communicate with. I think Brown does a really good job of really giving you all the contact points if you need them. I will say there, obviously, I mean, moving to another state, even not going to another school, there's going to be some challenge there. But a lot of why I moved or why I applied to these schools was because I wanted to get that experience. So for me personally, that shock kind of was exciting. I think a lot of my decision to apply was curiosity. I just didn't know. I hadn't lived on the East Coast before, and I wanted to. There are a lot of little small hurdles to get over when applying to these schools. Like Claire said, I really didn't know if my credits would transfer. I knew that. I mean, I understood it. They told me, and I learned after getting accepted. But I think there are a lot of uncertainties for sure, and for some people that can be very challenging. And it was definitely for me, just the application process of having to wait, like we were talking about earlier. There are a lot of unknowns, but I believe that they will, and they do get answered. You have to put yourself out there.
Hey, thank you. Let's talk about, I think you all have shared already some of your challenges that you experienced in the process that the students here and online can learn from. But maybe tell us, what piece of advice that you would have for current ACC students and advisors who are assisting students who plan to transfer. So we'll start at the end with Maricela. What's one piece of advice you'd give students here?
I would say that really think about if this is your right school. Like, I spent a lot of time applying to schools that actually I didn't end up applying, like U Chicago. I was like, no, yeah, it's perfect university, but actually the journalism program wasn't that good. So I was like, I really literally wrote 2 essays because U Chicago asked you to write 2 essays, and I wasted a lot of time. So definitely think about that. Do a lot of research on why you went to school, meaning look at the curriculum, look at the classes, what are they teaching, the faculty. They usually have like a biography of the kind of professors and what they do, the orgs, and really think about what you want, because you don't want to spend all your time and money in a school that actually is not the right place for you. So before you even start your essay, your requirements, just think about that, and I think it's going to save you a lot of time.
And was the reason that you were looking at U of Chicago, is that because you did the Point Public Thinking workshop at the University of Chicago and you were thinking like, well, this might be a home for me? Is that part of the reason?
Well, I didn't like do the program yet by that time. I didn't.
Oh, you did the summer session.
Yeah,
Got it.
I did the summer session. But I mean, Chicago is a famous college school, so I was like, yeah, for sure, I'll apply. But then, not really.
But then you saw, okay, it doesn't really it's not a good fit.
Yeah, maybe for a master's or like of the multiple summer programs that they do, I still look at those. Like maybe the school that you want might not be for a bachelor's, but something different. So also think that open. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Kelda, advice?
Yeah, I have kind of a niche bit of advice. So something my advisor helped me figure out was if there's like a class you think will be really challenging that might affect your GPA, like calculus 2, you should do it in the semester like right before you're going to transfer, because when they look at your application, they'll see you're signed up for it, but they won't see your GPA yet or your grades from it. So it's kind of a weird piece of advice, but if you think something's going to
People
really
are writing that
challenge
down
you-
right now.
Yeah. I ended up like getting an A, but I was definitely nervous about it. So, and I know like GPA is one of the many things that matters a lot. And what else? For the essay, I think especially for UT, it's a really holistic process from what I've heard. So with the essay, I think my advisor gave me really good advice, just to kind of weave your experience and your passion in and try to weave it in with like why you want to go to UT and do that major. Because I think like, especially if you can make the essay like a really good, interesting read, I mean, I don't know this 100%, but I worked really hard on my essay and made it, I went over it multiple times, made sure it was really good, and I got in. So I'm just basing it off of that. But I think the essay is really important.
Did you have people look over your essay?
Yeah, I had my transfer advisor look over it.
And now a
then
plug
friends.
for transfer services. You know this is what they do, right? They look over your essays. So Renee Esparza is actually outside kind of monitoring the chat here, so maybe she will chime in with that. But you can have a session with the people who work for transfer services actually look over your application essay and give you tips.
And then also for your resume, my advisor told me just to like put in as much as I could because it doesn't have like a limit, I guess. And especially experiences that you can somehow tie to like your major, and that make like you can make it sound really good, like whatever you put on there. So, and I also had my transfer advisor go over my resume as well. So that's also important.
Okay, thank you. Katie.
So for me, my biggest piece of advice is essay driven. For me, what was most important when I was writing my essay is I didn't want it to be like, "Hi UT, I love you guys. Burnt orange is my favorite color. By the way, you should let me into your school." It was more of I wanted my personality to shine in and shine through, and I wanted them to know who I was and what I stood for. So when I had my essay looked over by my parents, I had it looked over by my therapist at the time. I had it looked over by some of my classmates. One is in the back of the room right now. Hi, Shay. I wanted to make sure my essay was me. I wanted them to know, hi, this is why I'm here. This is why it's important to me, and this is why you should put me here, rather than just listing off my achievements and my accomplishments and everything else. I didn't want to sound like I was bragging. I just wanted to be authentic with it. And my thesis, my advisor for my major, she was the one who goes over those essays, and that's something she really appreciated in mine, because I had to have a meeting with her before I could enroll in my courses. I had to talk one-on-one with her so she could run down how humanities works and the whole function of it, and she brought up my essay, and she just really, really appreciated that I was more personable in it, rather than just listing off a bullet point of things I've done.
So Katie, really quick, what's the difference between humanities and honors humanities, which you're in the honors humanities program? So
There is no difference. So all of it is honors humanities. It's an honors major. So if you ever have anybody who does humanities, it is an honors major. And the reason why it is that is you design your own major. There's no guideline of, okay, you can pick from this topic, or this topic to write your paper on. What it is you pick something that you're passionate about, and it can be about anything. You could literally write about why you love that grass is green. And you take a full year, so 2 semesters, picking courses from every single college in the college. So I'm taking stuff from McCombs, I'm taking stuff from the radio, television, and film. I have to take things from everywhere to put into research for this paper I'm going to be writing for the second year. So for humanities honors, you can only transfer in as a junior. They won't let you do it your freshman or sophomore year. And for me, I found a love with horror and sci-fi and everything else through your course, through the vampire course, and I just decided like I'm going all in with taking horror classes. So my semester now is like Dante's Inferno, it's American horror films, it's vampires, it's just stuff that interests me. And I think that's another reason why my essay was so important, because my passions were in there. It wasn't just my achievements, but it's the stuff that is important to me. And that's all that humanities is about. It's just a passion-based degree. It's beautiful.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we'll turn to our Zoom folks here. Piece of advice. Amber, I'm guessing you have more than one.
So my biggest piece of advice, and I cannot stress this enough, when you transfer to your four-year school, similar to what is available to you at ACC, there are a bunch of free services included in your tuition. You should take advantage of every single one of them. Your first week of classes, find out what services are offered to students for free. Y'all, I have always had trouble paying attention, and I had never been on ADHD medication until my school offered me free ADHD testing and got me connected with a psych. Like it's crazy. Like completely changes my life. We have free tutoring on campus. We have free graduate school services to like help you prepare for grad school. We have a free law clinic. So if you have legal problems as a student, you can go to the law clinic and they will help you pro bono. Like, check out your services because you're going to be shocked. And also find your niche. Find out immediately that one club, just one club that you would like to join, and go to their first meeting and hang out with people. Because you know what? Nothing is better in college than having friends who are going to support you and help you get through the tough times and study with you in the library at 2 a.m. because you forgot that you had an exam on Wednesday. So really, that's my big thing.
What's the club, Amber?
So I have two. It's chemistry club, and then also the Honors Forensic Science Society.
Oh, wow. That sounds very cool.
Yeah, honestly, if you love like crime and dead stuff, like reach out to me. It's really fun.
Okay, great. Tristan, what piece of advice would you give these students?
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about this for it's been more than 8 months since this idea was introduced to me, so I've had some time to think about it. So I do have more than one. I will keep it short and simple for now, and I think the main thing that I want to advise is to really look at your application and be honest with yourself with what is the weakest component. I think it is very easy to ignore that one part of our application that we just gives us anxiety, or maybe we are just afraid to actually dive into and expose ourselves to ourselves. I think we lie to ourselves a lot, and I learned this because I applied to Brown before the time I applied and got accepted. There was an application cycle prior to the one, and I didn't get into any of the schools that I applied to. They were all very competitive schools, so I it didn't, like, that was almost the expectation that I didn't get in. But I realized, oh wait, I haven't been in school for a year. I had so many experiences that I didn't have. I didn't really know how to write about myself. I didn't really know about the schools I was applying to. There were so many components that even though I'd worked pretty hard to get to just that point, I realized there was still a lot more that I could do. And well, I went after that, I guess. And yeah, that's my advice.
Well, and you work to make a really strong application, right? And you're saying you applied to Brown one time before or multiple times
I
before you
applied
got it?
once before. The I can't remember exactly what cycle it was in, but I applied before I enrolled at ACC.
Ah, okay. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Claire.
Yes, everyone has said such wonderful things, and I gave my main piece earlier about consuming all the media you can find, but I have two small additions, pieces of advice. One would be for the advisors. and the students, if you have a question about the process or about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to these institutions. Don't hesitate to send Harvard's admissions office an email, or Brown's or Yale's. Every time I did, I got a response. It wasn't necessarily like immediately, but you know, sometimes I was held up on something they needed from me and I wanted clarification. So do not hesitate to reach out. Their emails are out there, you know, because they want you to contact them.
That's great advice because I think students are intimidated, right?
Sure.
Oh, you know, they're not going to have time to give me information about that.
Yeah. And the second thing, kind of out of left field, is I decided to take the SAT. I hadn't taken the SAT since the 90s. And I studied very hard. I took it 3 times, and I think my score ultimately was good enough to help my case, kind of like Tristan said, you know, look at your application, find that weak link, or try to find something else to tell your story. And so that was one thing, especially having been out of school for so long, I thought would help my story. So, you know, it's most transfer applications, they're test optional, or they don't require them at all. But I did choose to take the SAT and submit it.
So when they're test optional, you can still submit your scores?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Tristan, you look like maybe you wanted to add something to that.
I took the SAT too many times. Yeah, no, I think that it isn't required. And well, I think I'm not sure what their decision was. I think it might be required for a lot of at least the top tier schools, or at least the Ivies. I think they're bringing it back to being required. I'm not sure exactly, but yes, that was one of the components for myself also, that I realized I could do better, and it wasn't fun, but I think Claire said it earlier. I enjoy a challenge, and I think um, it was a clear number that I could shoot for. It was something that, unlike an essay where you can write endlessly and never really come to a perfect piece, there's a hard number there, and it gave me something to shoot for. So I think it helped me mentally as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk about money, scholarships in particular. So we're going to start with Amber because she has the biggest one, right? The Jack Kent Cooke scholarship is the biggest undergraduate scholarship, particularly for community college students. So how did you hear about it, Amber? And do you have tips for students who are applying to major scholarships like that?
I do have so many tips. Um, so yeah, Jack and Cook is incredibly competitive, and it's kind of like a cult once you're in. So just so everyone knows, like it
Oh,
was so
I like it.
cool.
Okay.
It was so cool. So basically, when you apply for Jack and Cook, it is a massive, and I want to emphasize massive application. So the most important thing is to start as soon as possible. I believe the applications are usually due in January or late December, but uh, don't quote me on that. But they like you have to get so many references, you have to write so much about yourself. And it is also interesting because similar to how UT does admissions, Jack Cook kind of does a holistic thing. You do have to be a high achieving student, right? Like, I mean, who in this room isn't, right? But beyond that, they really want to hear your story and about your personal journey and about where you see yourself going. And this is where I think that a lot of people stumble when they make applications to colleges or they make applications to scholarships, is they just try to sound like the best version of themselves rather than being honest about their experiences and how they've gotten to this point. Because everyone has a lived journey and they really want to hear that. You know, they're going to get hundreds of generic sounding applications. It's the ones that stand out that are the ones that get a second look. And after talking to the people who do the process at Jack Kent Cooke, like people knew me before I even got there. They were like, "Oh yeah, I read your application." Like I met a board member who sat down and was like, "Oh yeah, so you're Amber, you're the one who did the NASA thing." And
So
like actually know who you are. And so really you want to start early, you want to make it personable, you want to be honest about who you are while also putting your best foot forward. And you want to really think critically about what is it you want to do with your degree? Like, do you want to, I mean, in my case, I wanted to do space exploration style stuff. I've since transitioned into a lot of biochem, and I'm actually doing research on neurodegeneration from like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and everything. So that's where I'm at now. Um, so yeah, it sounds silly, but you really have to sit down and think for a minute and just be like, what do I really want out of life? What do I really want to do? And that's what I always say about scholarship applications. Jack and Cook is the biggest, but it's not the only one I've gotten. And I mean, honestly, it's the one thing I'm good at is getting money for school. Like my big skill.
Can you just throw your email there in the chat and then you'll get like, 100 people asking you
I
questions?
did put my email in the chat. So yeah,
Nice.
scholarships, transferring as a STEM student, getting into research out of 4-year, or if you're just like into forensic science and chemistry and space, like, you can reach out to me.
Thank you, Amber. I know that we have a couple of other students who received funding. I don't know if it was scholarships or not. So, Tristan, can you tell us a little bit about Brown and what they provided you in terms of your package?
Yeah, no, I need advice myself on applying to scholarships, at least externally. But again, one of the reasons I applied to these schools is because I knew just from reading their website and just understanding how their financial aid systems work that I would likely not have to pay much, if really anything at all. And that is more or less what Brown is offering me. It costs me no more to attend Brown than it would to attend ACC. So for that, I am very grateful. And yeah, I mean, I think no matter what school you go to, it's the same. We're talking about applications here, and it's all the same process. It really is. Just you just have to do them. You have to be out there. You have to be yourself. You can't be generic, as Amber has said, as I believe a couple others have said. Um, these are other people that are reading your applications, and I think that's easy to forget sometimes. But they get bored reading the same thing over and over, just like you would. So don't be crazy, but don't also be afraid to express yourself in some way and be a little different.
Yeah, thank you. So, Maricela, I'm going to turn to you because I know, didn't you get a package from?
I received for both also through FAFSA, kind of like federal grants, but then it was completed through a scholarship, so it was kind of like a mix of both. In the case of UT, they have like a program, like if your parents make under 1,000, like $100,000, I think, they complete like your tuition. So definitely take pick an eye on that. But I didn't do like a different application for each one of the universities. But they definitely take a look at your merits and your resume and all of that. I definitely added that I have a scholarship, honor scholarship in my resume.
That's right.
Yeah, and like that's one of the things that advisors say, like add your awards at the top of your resume so they see it when they look at your application. But yeah.
Great, thank you. Anybody else get any aid? Yeah, go ahead, Calda.
Yeah, I got the same at UT. Honestly, when I applied, I didn't know what the financial aid would be like. I was like, I'll just go in debt if I have to. But but luckily, yeah, if your family, I guess, makes below $100,000, in my case, I'm an independent, and I just applied. I'm not married, so as an independent with a child, and my tuition's covered as well.
Your full tuition is covered?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
My situation's weird, so I never really got help or support figuring out how scholarships work, so I just never applied up until this semester, actually. But I got very lucky in the aspect of the VA benefits, which I was talking. Hello? Okay. That I was talking about before, where if you have family members, whether it's grandparents, whether it's your regular parents, whatever the case, if you're a dependent of a veteran, you can get a lot of money from the government. And what I did is I opened a separate bank account, and all of the money I get for attending classes, I just put into there. I paid to go to ACC out of pocket because it wasn't the most expensive thing in the world. And all of the thousands of dollars I saved through just attending school, because my dad's a veteran, I was able to put towards my tuition for UT. So far I've been fully covered. I should be good for probably the next 2 semesters as well. But please, please, please reach out to your veterans offices. If you think you might qualify, please look into it. There's so much free money out there for you.
Well, thank you. So we're gonna, I'm gonna ask one more question here, and then we're gonna open it up to our audience, because I'm sure they have lots of questions for you. But starting over here with the folks who are actually out of state, now that you're pretty far removed from ACC, can you describe the culture of the university? You've talked a little bit about how you feel like you've received different kinds of support, and we talked a little bit about culture shock, but can you describe it to us? Like, so Amber, you were giving us, just the fact that you said snow, that's cognitive estrangement, right, for the rest of us. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about the culture at Rutgers.
Well, I mean, in fairness, Claire actually gets more snow than me. She's further north.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, so culturally, I actually love Rutgers, and like I said, I actually chose Rutgers as part of a culture reason. So 2 things that made me decide between Rensselaer and Rutgers. I started looking into Rensselaer, and primarily their campus is young, white, male engineers. And then also they had no like gay alliance on campus. And although I am not, completely gay, I am partially, so I like to put it. I'm pan. And so it was weird for me, like seeing this situation where I would be very different. And then secondly, I looked at housing, which is, I know it's silly, but like I have to live on campus. And because I have to live on campus, I looked into the dorms. And Rensselaer is an old school. Those old schools, sometimes their amenities are lacking. So like the
They have
room that I have
HVAC
on,
problems too, right?
yeah. Yeah, and so they also didn't have air conditioning. So if it got hot in New York, sorry. Sorry. So I actually live in a room that I have my own air conditioning and heat. I also have my own room inside my dorm. So I share a dorm with 4 other girls, or with 3 other girls rather. But each of us has our own room within the dorm, and we have a full kitchen in our dorm, which
Oh,
is
wow,
not
nice.
the norm. I need to be clear, that is not the norm at colleges, but it is very nice to have somebody who's living on the dorms. So yeah, there's that. And also I go to Rutgers Camden. So it is part of the Rutgers University, but Camden is kind of a smaller campus that's set off away from the main 2 campuses, Newark and New Brunswick. What I love about it is Camden is a very diverse area. And so I meet a lot of people who are like me. Actually, Rutgers Camden has a larger percentage of transfer students than any of the other Rutgers campuses. And so I actually meet students who are very non-traditional and who come from, poorer backgrounds, who have very similar lived experiences to me. Rutgers is very gender inclusive. We accept students who are undocumented. We offer legal services for immigrant students who are struggling with visa issues, and for undocumented students who are trying to get documented or trying to figure out what they can do. So that was really my experience with culture. And also there's a huge gay alliance on campus, and we do like drag fashion shows and drag bingo and stuff, and it's really fun.
Excellent. Thank you. So Claire, going off of what Amber is saying, so she talks a little bit about non-traditional students, and you've already mentioned, that was something that you found pretty attractive about the Eli Whitney program. So what about you, culture at Yale?
Sure. I mean, my life is very different than it was in Austin. I lived at my house with my husband. I would go to classes at many different ACC campuses. You know, tutoring was consolidated into just a learning lab at each campus. But here, I would say my whole life is Yale, 7 days a week. You know, the classes are very rigorous and demanding. They move very quickly through a lot of material. So you know, taking a full course load is challenging. I would say the culture is one of people who also challenge themselves, who are, I mean, they are high achievers, the highest achievers you can imagine. And everyone is always doing something from sun up to sundown. There's a phenomenon here. I wish I could be in 2 or 3 places at once. So in addition to, you know, school and then office hours, that's where, you know, you seek help here. Instead of just a learning lab, you would go to teacher held or TA held office hours. You know, there are music performances, or Al Sharpton spoke here last night. And, you know, so every night of the week, there's something going on in addition to clubs, in addition to academics, in addition to sports. And so I just live in this wonderful, intense Yale bubble. And so I've just surrendered to it, and it's my life now. And I walk to campus now. Instead of driving, I walk through the snow. Amber's correct. To campus. They still have classes. And I just accept it. I love it. I take it for everything it is.
All right, thank you. Tristan Brown.
I guess we're all kind of in the snow a little bit. It's there's been snow on the ground, at least some, since I've gotten back this semester. You almost slipped a couple times, but other than that, I think it's okay. um, yeah, no, I think a lot of what Claire said also resonates with me. As an ACC student, I was.
Oh no,
I was.
sorry.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Sorry, Amber was just saying that she fell in the snow today. So I was.
Oh, I see that now. Okay. Yes. No, but there are so many opportunity costs here, or there's so many different opportunities that there's always an opportunity cost for everything that you decide to do here. As a student at ACC, I kind of balanced, I think I balanced work life and being a student maybe pretty evenly. But here, I mean, academics could easily be all that I do, and I could still, you know, do more. So I'd say that that's probably a big cultural difference. It is very fast paced. There are just so many things to do, and I'm actually living on campus, whereas when I was living in Austin, I would have to commute. That's a major difference for me, and
So is that a
something that
dorm that you're in right now?
yes, yes, it
Because I
is.
was thinking, like, I mean, I love the little rafters up there, and I was thinking, well, it's clearly not a dorm, but you're saying it is.
It's a house that was converted to a dorm, so
Oh,
it
got it. Okay.
has slightly different amenities than maybe a traditional dorm would. But yeah, no, I would say Brown specifically, it's kind of more of a the laid back Ivy, I think, is maybe how it's described in some compared to the other Ivies, just because we have a very open curriculum and we have very lax grading. Like we don't have very strict point grading. We don't have what is it? We don't have like a class rank or anything like that, and we can choose to pass fail our classes if we decide to. So I think there's so much freedom really to just explore what you want to explore, to either work as hard as you want to work endlessly, or to kind of relax, make friends, meet people, network. It's really open to whatever the student would like to do.
Okay, thank you. UT, obviously you all are very far removed from ACC since you're right here at ACC today, but you know, how would you describe it, the culture at UT?
So I could be very positive and chipper about it, but if I'm honest, when I first got into UT, I had major culture shock. I would come home with imposter syndrome thinking like, I don't belong here. All these people are so this specific way, and I just showed up from community college sitting in their classes, and I just don't fit in here, and it scared me, and it socially isolated me a little bit. And so what I decided to do instead, because I'm also a commuter, right? So I don't get the culture as strong as people who do live on campus. I live an hour away. I commute an hour to school every day. So what I ended up doing is just immersing myself in my classes and getting super, super involved with my classwork. So I ended up meeting my best friend, who I was actually hanging out with a few hours before showing up here, through GroupMe for a class I had for my vampire one. We had this design project, and I wanted to do art for a long time, so I was really excited to make this infographic. And students in there were complaining and not sure what they were doing, and I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Hey, guys. So I went in there and I offered to help people with their homework because I was having so much fun with mine. I was like, why not? And I got this private message from this girl in my class, and she goes, man, all my friends think I'm strange for liking this stuff. Can I sit next to you in class? And I was like, cool. And now she and I hang out every day, and through that, she has her boyfriend who's fully Russian, and because the vampire class was like the Slavic community, like sub thing at UT, I got really involved in that despite not being Slavic at all. I'm Korean American, and I'm learning about Russian and Slovakia, but I've started growing my community from there. Through her, I met other people, and I started to feel at home, and I realized I don't need to be involved in frat parties or the late night bar hopping or anything like that, which is a lot of UT West Campus, at least culture is a lot of partying. There's a big frat community there. I started to kind of build my own and experiencing new things, and it's just fun. I think once I stopped trying to fit in, I found where I did fit in.
Nice.
So don't look for it, just let it come. It's okay if you don't feel like you belong right away. Sometimes it just takes a little while. I felt like that at ACC too, so.
Thanks, Katie. Kelda, you just started this semester, so what are you noticing?
Yeah, so I just started. Major takeaway, I feel very old there because I don't think there's a ton of non-traditional students there that I've seen. There are a ton of student orgs you can join, and so you can probably find one for almost anything because it's like a campus of like 50,000 students. So I found a non-traditional student org, and I've met with them once so far, but we have like a chat, which is really cool.
Are there other parents in the non-traditional?
I have not met any other parents
Oh,
yet.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels like very traditional student population in general, but honestly, like I also commute from like Cedar Park. I'm kind of just there for the academics and career focused, so I'm not feeling like that's too bad because I just really want to focus on my academics and everything. So yeah, so far it's cool. It's it's nice to see like some buildings in Texas that are a little older than like 10 years old, and yeah, it's a really pretty campus. I like it.
No, it's not pretty. That's my bias. Maricela, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree that there are not many non-traditional students. It's been personally hard for me to find my community. I don't know, I've joined different orgs, I talk to people, but as you said, like it comes to you kind of way, like you kind of force it. And I agree that I get a lot of imposter syndrome. Like you cannot help it. Like you compare yourself a lot. Like you see how many people like that are sophomore already have these awards or like are so involving on campus, but like you're a transfer student, like you just join, like give yourself some time to get used to it. So that's what I'm trying to do, and like just get to know people, but also understand like if I don't click, I don't click, and that's fine too. But yeah, I would say that UT is so big and like traditional students, so it takes time. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we are going to open it up to questions from the audience. So we have a mic out there, and we'll bring it to you. So wait until we bring the mic to you. But do you all have any questions for our panel? So we have one over here. We'll start here, and then we'll come over here. So one over here, Fatima.
Hi, hello. I am looking to transfer outside of the United States. So I was wondering if anyone knew anything about transferring to another country?
Hey, I know a little bit. I'm not going to be the best resource, and I definitely recommend that you reach out to the transfer services at any overseas schools that you're looking at, because they're going to be the best as far as helping you navigate like visa processes and everything. I'm actually looking at potentially attending graduate school outside of the United States, so it's actually something that I'm looking into right now. And the biggest thing is you really need to understand the requirements for going to a college that is overseas, because the EU systems especially are very different as far as curriculum and grading goes. And then also you need to start looking into the types of visas that you could apply for and whether or not those student visas require financial deposits, because some places do require that you have a certain amount of money that you essentially give to the foreign government for them to have this idea of, yeah, we know that you can take care of yourself over here and you're not just going to disappear and become, undocumented in our country.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so my academic advisor said that it's like holistic review, right? So it's like 20% for each of the segments, and one of them is experience in the field. And so, for example, my major is marketing. So I was wondering, for you guys, how would you recommend getting internship experience in your field without having any actual like, hey, I went to this school, like I don't know anything about marketing right now. So I'm wondering, how would you get that for the application?
Yeah, go ahead, Kelda.
I would recommend that if you can't get an actual job in your field, because say you don't have credentials or something, or an internship, even starting your own thing, it can be really small, but you can make it look good on your application, right? So because I'm non-traditional, I had a lot of years before school, so I actually had a business. So I definitely put that on my application. But you could even start your own little marketing thing and maybe do it for free for some little business, do some marketing for them, something like that, if you can't get an internship or a job.
Also, with the holistic review, I wouldn't stress too much if one part of your application isn't perfect the way you want it to be. It would definitely help if you had experience, but for me, for instance, all of my job experiences were managing a Japanese import store or a waitress or something like that, which has nothing to do with humanities, really. It's just whatever, part-time jobs. But what I ended up doing is I not embellished, that's the wrong word for it, but I went into it in my essay about why what I'm looking at is important to me and related it to myself, because it is holistic. You have a chance to explain yourself of why it is important, and you are learning about it, and let me describe these steps I'm taking about why I'm learning about it and what I will do with it. I'm just not there yet because I need this experience first. And if you're just very honest with yourself there, I think admissions would really appreciate just being genuine rather than trying to stage yourself as something you're not, if that makes sense.
Anybody online want to?
Do it. I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm a STEM major, so it's a little different from marketing, admittedly. However, what I started doing was just seeing if there was anyone at ACC who could help offer me experience. So I don't know if there are any STEM majors out there. Dr. Shauna Morty is my favorite person ever, outside of Anne Marie Thomas, because I can't say that she's not my favorite person. And she actually, through the honors program, through honors organic chemistry too, gives students experience. We had experience in synthesizing chemicals, and which then I was able to add to my application, and people were like, wait, you already know how to do columns and chromatography and all of that good stuff. And so that helped me. So I would definitely see if there's anybody at ACC who is in marketing, who is willing to kind of take you under their wing, or also if there is a class at ACC that kind of gives some lived experience. I also looked outside of that and looked for other programs that you could do in college. So this is where I mentioned the NASA thing. I went to the LaSpace program and I joined their NPWE, which is all about like proposal and grant writing specifically to get money from NASA. And I got to meet a bunch of other people from undergraduate up to NASA employee level of people. They taught us all about grant writing. And so then when I applied, I was able to be like, hey, I know how to write research grant requests. Hey, I know how to write a science matrix. Like, hey, I know how to do all of this research. And also, hey, I won $10,000. Please give me money for school.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up with the NASA. So if you're in the honors program, you've seen the NASA opportunities. So there are two opportunities. The one that Amber's talking about is LaSpace, NASA LaSpace. It's the academy, just that she was talking about. And having that valuable experience, learning about grant writing, that's going to transfer into many other arenas. But there's another one called, it's NCAS, and it's National Community Aerospace Scholar, something along that. Is that right, Amber? Okay, yeah, and that is also really helpful. And you might be thinking like, okay, I'm a marketing major, I don't care about NASA. But believe it or not, they want to bring in people from all different backgrounds. Like one of the people who's done most of the missions for last year was an accounting major. And the things that he was learning in that experience are going to help him to transfer. So, you know, be open to the possibilities that we have here at ACC.
I do also just want to add my winning team for LaSpace. We had an English major, we had a business major, and we had a neuroscience major. So it's not just your standard STEMs that are going into these programs. Like my team was so diverse, and they actually mentioned when we won that they loved that, you know, we had people who understand every aspect of the business of NASA to help us.
Yeah, it's so it's not just for STEM majors. So where there's another question in the back there. Oh, and Renee has her arm, because I think we're probably going to start answering questions from the chat. But let's go to Lou first, and then we'll do the questions in the chat.
Hi, Claire, Amber. I wanted to ask both of you in particular. I think you both switched majors, right, from when you first came in. Can you talk about the process of what that was like at your respective schools?
I can start there. Hi, Lou. It's great to see you and hear from you. Lou is one of the people, and Amber, both people I had classes with while I was at ACC. So it's wonderful to see them. So at Yale, unlike UT, where I think you have to apply for a certain major and it's very difficult to transfer or change your mind, at Yale, it's just a click of a button. There are two majors that you do have to apply for, but you know, it's really like write an essay about why you want to, and most people are accepted. I think, you know, you do have to worry about prerequisites, or you know, like just check and see how much time you can be here, if that fits within your academic plan. But Yale is extremely flexible. It's just whatever you want. I'm a cognitive science major right now, and that's where I plan to get when I graduate. But if I wanted to change to English today, that would be no problem. If I wanted to change to mechanical engineering, no problem. So that's really one of the great sort of parts about being here, is that flexibility. And I will say personally, arriving that I wanted to be a cognitive science major, that was very difficult. That felt like I was in a rock tumbler doing a lot of self exploration, struggling with math. So that was much harder than actually physically changing my major.
All right. I'm a mess, y'all. I've changed my major 3 times. So I did it once at ACC. I started at ACC as a social work major and did about a year of social work classes and realized that mentally I was not going to be able to handle social work. And then I was like, you know what? I always wanted to be a scientist when I was a kid, and I went into chemistry. When I came to Rutgers, I originally applied as chemistry, got here, decided I wanted to do biochemistry, took a bio class, realized I hated biology, went back into chemistry. And I still somehow do biochemistry work despite only being in a chemistry major. And then I'm minoring in forensic science now because my boss is a forensic toxicologist, and I was told that I had to. Um, so, so it does happen, but it's the same way here at Rutgers. It's very easy to change your majors and your minors. You literally just have to send an email to the registrar's office, and they're like, "All right, sure, whatever. Here's your new list of requirements. Guess you're going to be in school another year." They really don't care, because honestly, they're there for the money, and they're like, "Okay, fine. You want to pay us more money to get your degree." What I want to say though is, do not be afraid to change your major. It is much easier to change your major in college than to get 5 years into your career and decide, man, I hate this. I'm going to
Amen.
have to go back to school.
Yeah. Amen. Okay. So let's go to so actually we'll start here and then go to the chat. Sophia, can you read the question?
Okay, so the question is for Claire. You mentioned you being married. How did your husband and your balance with your choice for Yale and relocating there? And you also mentioned going all in for Yale. How has that been a positive experience for him too?
Great question. So I should start by saying the whole reason I enrolled in a class at all was because of my husband at ACC. He was a student there. He's a non-traditional student himself, so he really understands that journey. He's finally completing his bachelor's after getting 2 associates at ACC. So I feel lucky in that we're both on the same team. We both value education. We both understand this midlife, non-traditional academic path. So when I was accepted to Yale, I mean, it was somewhat of a shock. We've kind of, thought UT was going to be an option, but we thought, okay, this is a great opportunity. What does it mean for us? We're looking long-term, not in the short term. And so we do the long distance thing. I have 2 stepsons, one at Texas Tech and one's a junior at high school in Austin. We're committed to this path. And so I guess I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that without him, knowing we're both working towards the same goal.
Thanks, Claire. Okay, so let's do voices from the chat. Do you want to give Renee the microphone there?
Hi. This is a question for every panelist. A student online is asking if it would be possible for each student to share a quick rundown of their transfer stats. If you feel comfortable sharing things like your GPA, extracurriculars, and professional experience.
Oh, that's a lot. We could be here
yeah,
for a while.
So if you just bullet points, whatever you're willing to share, maybe the 3 things you think made you a strong applicant.
Okay, Maricel, let's start with you.
Okay, so bullet points, GPA 4.0, honor student, very involved with ACC. So I would say part of the student government, part of Accent, and also had a job at ACC related to communications. So I would say that really helped in my application.
4.0 at ACC and the honors student. And then I also did the honors. I'm still doing the honors internship. And I think that really helped too. I also had a business before and all that, so I put that on there as well.
It's a little weird. I had a 3.86, but I really honed in on the fact that I had honors and I had manager experience in retail. So applying to humanities, I was able to kind of talk about how, hey, I've seen all walks of life managing a store. It's a little crazy. So that's kind of what I honed in on because I didn't have much experience or extracurricular outside of that. Outside of the, there was that program, the honors, UT intern.
No, the YCS Fellows.
The YCS
program,
Fellows, yeah, I did that program. That was my only extracurricular I had on
Maricela did too,
thing,
yeah, and Amber did, and Tristan did.
Please do it.
I don't know about
it's free.
if
It's
Claire did or not.
easy. It's apparently very helpful. I learned a lot in it. So,
okay, thank you, Tristan.
I have really much professional experience when it came to at least biology. I had what I got from ACC education-wise, but other than that, not too much. I was in the Scholarship Society Club, when I was at ACC. Outside of that, I worked at IKEA, so I was working in the restaurant there. I had some other restaurant experience, other retail experience. My GPA at ACC was 4.0 as well. Um, I think that answers most of the questions. I'm trying to think of other things. I think even little things like I mentioned earlier, like I'm studying Japanese. I think those are all those little particular skills, all those little things that make you you definitely are valuable as well. So I think that was a major part of my application. And I'm sure there are a couple other things I'm forgetting, but I think that answers the question.
Claire?
Sure. I was a professional musician for 10 years, made records, toured the country. And then after that, I was at a commercial real estate investment firm in Austin. And then I eventually branched out on my own and own and manage my own real estate investments. And so I did that while I was in school. I didn't necessarily do any club activities. I was also a full-time stepmom. And then when I wrote my essays, I sort of tied in the taking on these big projects like real estate and making records, things I had never done before in my life. Those were kind of my extracurriculars there. And I had a 4.0 at ACC and took a lot of honors, math, and science classes.
Okay, thank you. Amber?
I had a 3.941 because calculus kicked my butt. My 1B. It's okay. I've gotten a B at Rutgers now, so I feel better about myself. So yeah, I had a 3.941. Extracurriculars, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Anne Marie knows I was involved in way too much stuff. Literally
Absolutely.
everything. PTK, the HSO, honors ambassadors. I did yes fellows. I volunteered everywhere. Like I'm a big activist, and so I love getting involved in stuff. Like y'all, I'm organizing protests on campus right now and like doing immigration services rallies and like that's my thing. Sorry, bad word. Anyways,
They'll
so
edit it out for ACCTV, Amber.
but so yeah, I was involved in a lot of stuff, but actually, I do want to tell people don't do that. Find a few things that you're really passionate about and put your focus into those, and it'll actually work out a lot better for you. I spread myself way too thin. So extracurriculars like that, experience wise, like I said, I had synthesizing chemicals, so like organic experience from doing the honors class. So again, honors classes are awesome. You should really do them. And then I also did the NASA thing. And so I actually had experience cold emailing researchers and then talking to researchers, talking to them about their research. One of them currently wants me to apply to grad school at his school, even though it's now several years later because he wants me to work in his lab. Like it was honestly an awesome experience. And if you're in STEM, eventually, if you want to get like a master's or a PhD, you're going to have to cold email someone about their research. So get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Wise words. More questions, Renee. So we are about to be wrapping it up. So I think we can do 2 more questions. We do 2 more questions, Renee? Okay, so then I saw your hand first, and then we'll do yours. And I'm sorry, everyone else.
So my question is I didn't get your name, the mom. I am a mother, and I'm 37, and I'm wanting to transfer. So any advice on like what I can do to like stand out, or like it's like a lot of pressure thinking like I'm going against like all these young people with no not less responsibility, So any advice?
Yeah. The good thing is I can get all the pop culture tips from my son, so that's really helpful. I know all the brain rot. But no, it is really, really, like, I really feel for you as well, because it's so hard, because you feel so torn between spending time with your kids and then also doing all these extracurriculars. And like, you just want to get the best experience out of school possible because it's a huge opportunity cost when you're a parent, right? So I totally understand. I guess my main advice would be to like really pick like one or two things that you can manage and just focus on those, you know, as far as like an extracurricular. Like really all I did was like I work part-time for my own business, but then mostly just the honors internship. And that was like my only extracurricular really. And so what I did was on my application, I just wrote down all the other things I had done in my life before, and used that. And I think they kind of understand if they know you're a parent, put it in your essay, of course, that like you can't be doing a million clubs and things, right? It didn't seem to hurt my application. So yeah, best of luck to you.
All right, last question.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
All right, cool. Sorry to keep you guys, but basically, what do you guys think earned you guys the most, let's say, brownie points for your application towards these colleges, whether or not if they were internships, programs into the school that you were wanting to specifically apply, or side hobbies of your own that eventually turned into something?
I guess that's difficult because they'll never tell you specifically what part of your application they're like, that's why I want you. You kind of never get the answer for that. But what I really think was mine, because I know I keep harping on the essay part, it's so important. I wrote mine in like 3 days. I stressed and I had it peer reviewed by like 8 people in 3 days. Don't do what I did. Guys, do not apply to one school. Do not write your essay 3 days before it's due. But just again, with mine, I talked a lot about my family background of like my dad being a disabled vet and having to go from country to country when I was little up until I started grade school. I also talked a little bit about like my school experience growing up. I mentioned that I was bullied heavily, so I focused in on academics over other things of that sort and how it kind of shaped me into who I was. And again, it's just being personal. I think that's really, really what sealed the deal with mine, because that is what humanities is about. It's about being personal. So that's what was mine, I guess.
Okay. Online, anybody?
Add to that, I think, you know, what you're the most passionate about similarly can come through, but I think I got a letter of recommendation from my former boss, you know, so I thought, and he let me read it after he sent it. And I just, you know, it really highlighted who I was outside of being a student. And I think that helped tell my story in a great way, right? Because you know, you definitely have to submit teacher letter recommendations, but I believe you have an option to send a third. And so I highly recommend taking advantage of that if you know someone who can, you know, add color to the rest of you.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, so that concludes the transfer panel. I just want to thank again our panelists very, very much for, well, coming all the way from UT. Thank you. And
So
then
hard.
Zoom folks making time, because I know it's an hour later, right? Up there, it's like, what, 9 something now. So for making time for us, we really, really appreciate it. This has been wonderful. We are recording it, so we'll be sending out that recording on the honors listserv. If you're not in the honors program, just email honors and we can make it available to you. So have a wonderful night. And again, thank you, panelists. And thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.